Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind Podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences. In this series, titled Mindset Matters Most, Juan Vasquez of Illusions Painting will be discussing his journey from being a day-to-day painting contractor to becoming a profitable business owner with a vision for his company. In episode 1, Juan discussed his past life, how his business used to look. In episode 2, Juan shared the experience that opened his eyes and changed his life and what happened next. In episode 3, this episode, Juan will dive into all the transitions necessary for his business after his mindset changed. In episode 4, Juan will open up the hood and detail what Illusions Painting looks like today. And in episode 5, the final episode, Juan will lay out his thoughts regarding lack of self-confidence and stereotypes and the initiatives he is currently conducting to help lift up other contractors. If you want to ask Juan questions related to anything in this podcast series, you can do so on our exclusive Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast forum on Facebook. Just search for Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast forum on Facebook and request to join the group, or type in the URL facebook.com/groups/Painter Marketing Mastermind. Again, that URL is facebook.com/groups/Painter Marketing Mastermind. There you can ask Juan questions directly by tagging him with your question so you can see how anything discussed here applies to your particular painting company. What's up, Juan?
What's going on, Brandon?
It's you and me, brother.
Here we are again, man. Here we are.
I have a feeling some people are going to listen, though. Some people are going to listen in on our conversation.
I'm hoping, man. I'm hoping at least we get a couple people interested and we get some decent feedback, right?
Yeah, heck yeah, man. You and I, we always basically start the podcast ourselves when we start connecting in the beginning, and then we have to remember, oh, we actually need to officially start this thing.
You know, it's kind of funny because last week when we had our last session, right? I just finished and I had like 2 minutes to get ready and jumped into another one.
Another one, right?
You know,
yeah.
I
almost crashed it, man. Right? I was just gonna stay on.
Yeah, I know, right? Well, God, I couldn't do that. I was all distracted. So it's kind of funny because even the intro was so weird for me because I'm still in this mindset. Talk about mindset again, right? Yeah. And I'm like, okay, it took me a couple minutes to kind of get the ball rolling and get back into it. I was like, ooh, breathe. I was like, man, like
you're not being drilled by Brandon.
Like, no, of course. You got my brain going, man. Like, we were just talking before this started, you know, how you got my wheels going last week. You asked me a question. I was like, oh, okay. I need to go back and do my homework because I can't do this, you know. Brandon, I have to come back and prepare. But yeah, no, you know, going back to our conversation, I guess today we're gonna talk about, you know, once you get inspired and once you get I guess that's the word, inspired, right? Okay, what now? Because I mean, it's so good when you hear all these listen to all these inspirational books and they get you going and fired up, but then what? You know, now the hard part comes. The hard part comes like, okay, now you got to do it. And how do you do it?
This is what this whole podcast, what the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast is predicated on. I love podcasts. I love books. I love that stuff. I was so tired of just the motivational, the mindset, do this.
Yes.
I'm like, I need help with what to do. I can walk outside and I can just feel like I'm drifting on clouds. But the reality is if I don't have a concrete plan, if I don't have specific answers, if I don't have specific guidance, that can kind of only get you so far. At some point, the rubber needs to meet the road in terms of what you're actually doing.
That is right. And that's I think for someone like myself, that's the hardest part. Because we need to, at least myself, I need to have that inspiration. I need to have that urge to do it.
Yeah.
The problem is that most of the times, you know, us painters don't have the knowledge to do it. And okay, now what? The frustration comes because you're like, okay, I want to do it, but how can I do it?
Yeah.
you know. So in this case, we start again with the PCA. In the beginning, not knowing what to do, you're so inspired. You see all these people like crushing it and making millions of dollars in their business, and you come here and you sit in your office or your house or your job site, and you're like, okay, now what? Like,
It can feel
yeah,
kind of
it's
defeating, actually. It can feel sort of depressing.
doesn't it? So I'm pretty sure you deal with this quite often, don't you?
Yeah, no, 100% talking to people about it. And I mean, I've personally dealt with it years ago, seeing
Mm.
that because you have to, you want to follow people who are ahead of you. You want to learn from people who are ahead of you, but you can fall into this trap of idolizing people, right? Or thinking they have something that you don't have, or they know something that you don't know. And that's why they're there. And I had a really interesting experience with my wife. We were watching Shark Tank. And so we're very, we love
Okay,
business.
yeah,
I
I
love
love that.
business. I love Shark Tank. And we
Yeah.
we would watch it all the time. But it got to a point where we started getting kind of depressed, and they'd show like 18-year-old girls and they create like a bath bomb. They're making all this money. It's like a 12-year-old kid. And I'm like, man, I am an idiot. Like this kid's 12 and he just made $3 million. Like, what is wrong with me? And so I'd be in this, I'd start to get in this cycle. I was like, you know what? I'm not going to watch Shark Tank again. I'm going to take a break from it. And we went back and we watched it a month ago. And I was like, wow. I actually, I feel kind of, these guys are really struggling. And it might have been the episode. It might have been, those guys weren't at really big, revenue, but I was looking at it from a little bit of a different perspective. And I came back around and it was pretty refreshing and rewarding, but I'm not any more exceptional. I'm not any smarter. Yeah, I've learned things along the way. Sure, you get experience, but I'm not a different person. I'm just a guy who didn't stop, and that's what it comes down to. It comes down to that realization that you had, which was, hey, holy cow, I don't have to just stay like this. There actually is another side, and that side is actually open to me. And I don't have to be a superhero and wear a cape and be able to fly to get there. I just have to be a guy who knows it's there and I don't stop. And now we're going to get into basically how you got there.
That is very true. Man, you couldn't have said it better.
Yeah.
You come here and you're inspired and you're like, I see all these guys creating these businesses and they're making millions of dollars. Like I said, I saw this guy that instead of being a painter, he created this business for making donuts. That was the first business I saw over. I can't remember, and I should have looked up his
Was
name.
this Shark
But
Tank?
no, this
Oh,
was in
this is your actual
a
life.
PCA. Yeah, this was a
Okay.
PCA.
Got it. Got it.
So interesting story because he went out he enlisted in the army. He went out in the army. He came back and
What
no
an idiot.
money.
No,
No,
I only say that. I only say
no,
that.
that's
No, not offending. I say it because I'm in the Florida Army National Guard. So
right. There
I'm not
you
saying it
go.
to offend anyone. Yeah.
No, of course. It's such a I've heard and I've learned that people that come out, the majority of persons that come out of the army, they do really good in businesses. And
Mm.
the only reason why is because the discipline that you learn in the army.
The
Because
right actions day in, day out, man.
right, and that's very important because a lot of us don't have that discipline. And you can have all the goals and everything, but if you don't have discipline, it's going to be very tough for you to make it. Just the repeated thing every day, it's going to make it. But this guy basically, he brought out he was one of the speakers. I cannot remember, this is 5 years ago, and like I always blame the fumes, those paint fumes. That's why my brain can't remember things. Hey, I gotta use it, I
I
gotta
don't
use
know,
it,
man.
right?
Hearing about young Juan, I'm not sure that was the issue, but
Oh God. Um, so he comes out and he's trying to, he was a painter. He started painting, but then he came to the point where painting, that wasn't his thing. He didn't know how to paint. He probably painted in in college, but it wasn't for him. So one day he had this crazy idea and he started making donuts. So he opened a small donut shop, but he wanted to create something that wasn't just your average donut, place. So he created something that was very just unique. So what he did, and this is the mentality, right? Basically, a donut's gonna kill you. A donut's gonna give you a heart attack. You know what his delivery trucks were?
like a heart or something.
No, take a wild guess. The delivery truck. What was a delivery truck?
Oh, like an ambulance looking
It
thing.
was an ambulance. And that was amazing. It was like, So he brought donuts for everybody, so we can go outside and have the donuts and stuff.
Like, you're gonna live, you're gonna die from this, but we'll just embrace
Okay,
it while we
so
have it.
Jose is the best. His name is Tim Clegg, Zlegg, and is he's from the University of Oklahoma. Dude, after I saw that, that kind of was like, okay, man, you can if you can make a living, and not just that, he created a whole empire. So now he is like, he has different franchises all over the country and stuff. But you see how that just is the business side of it, right? So we're going back to it. And so he created something. He followed that. So for us coming back, being inspired, we're like, okay, how can we move our business? How can we I don't know, transform our business into the business we want? Well, we found out that we needed training. First of all, our guys weren't trained. Most painters, and this is most painters, um, they don't know how to read properly, to read a can properly. You ask a painter or one of you guys, helpers at work, be like, hey, can you pass me the interior flat paint? They'll be like, which one's that? So, and it's very true. And we did this, and so what we started doing is like, okay, we need to train our guys.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, we train our guys at the job site. Yeah, but the job site is not, you're not taking the time to do it. So what we started implementing was, okay, how can we do this? And then we started seeing what everybody does. So what we did is we sat down everyone and say, okay, guys, we brought in our apprentices first, separated the group, because if you have a large group and trying to communicate to everyone, it's kind of hard.
Sure.
So we had smaller groups. And so we would go and put up, and actually all those videos are on our website. So the guys can actually go back now and see the video. So
Is that publicly available? Those
yeah, you
videos?
can go to
What?
our illusionspainting.com/training videos or
Illusions
slash training,
painting slash
uh,
what?
slash training.
Illusionspainting.com/training.
Yes.
Awesome.
And they're not very high quality videos. We made them for our guys. But the simple thing is that we took a can and put the can and say, okay, here on the front, you're gonna have the name of the provider or the manufacturer. Down here, you're gonna have whether it's a satin finish, a flat finish. Here you're gonna have the base of the paint. On the side, you're gonna have your database sheet, so certain things. And so from now on, you can distinguish, okay, just by looking at something, okay, what's the brand? Okay, this is the brand. Just what sheen is it? Okay, you know where to look for the sheen. So every can, there's going to be different cans, but this is going to give you that, at least that guidance. And we saw that was just, I mean, it was a game changer, just that one little thing. And then, so we have quite a few different other videos, and we just do it with our guys. We started doing videos as far as like the primers. Most people think that by just applying a primer, that's all it takes, but every substrate is different. So some need more adhesion, some need more coverage. And so that's what we took, again, a group of guys, one in Spanish and one in English, and explained to them, okay, first of all, this is a substrate. What we told them, explain what it is that you need to use for those substrates, and then we let them use it. And that part of the training, or that training, is really what you have to do at that point. And this is only one thing. So we're getting back to, okay, now is how do you do it? And this is how we did it.
So just
Uh,
Juan, I just want to interject really, really fast. Just basically, your next step after seeing the opportunity, deciding that you have more potential than maybe you had previously realized, was going back and saying, okay, let's take a look at the fundamentals, the
yes,
fundamental skills that we need to have. That let's see where we might be lacking, where maybe we previously didn't pay as much attention to it, and let's go ahead and train up our guys and build in SOPs to make sure that we get these fundamentals dialed in. Nothing super fancy, just the core building blocks of the business.
First of all, we at that point we understood what an SOP was.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a scary
standard
thing, right?
operation
Standard
procedures,
operating
right?
procedure. We're not at Harvard.
Right.
What are you talking about?
At first, I was,
It's
what
just a
is
way
that?
different things.
So I heard this thing. I heard numbers, I heard systems and SOPs. I was like, what is that?
Getting an MBA,
Uh,
man.
can you just explain to me in painter terminology? I was
Break this
like, well,
down
yeah,
for me.
break this down for me.
Yeah.
But that's what it did, you know. Honestly, at that point, once you find that the encouragement and get to that mental stage to do it, now you need to implement these systems. And that we talk about systems. So what are systems? How does your office operate? Um, how does your field operate? How, start understanding, like we started documenting everything. How long does it take for us to paint a door? What's a standard for our door? What's a standard for a wall? What's a standard for this? So we started creating those things. So at that moment, that's what we did. And till this day, we're still doing it. But
Yeah.
I think that really, at that point, that's what it takes. I do understand that there's a lot of other business owners who already have this background. Who'll be like, come on, man, you do that first before you do anything else. And
Sure.
that is right. That is correct. That is perfectly, I mean, that's the right answer. In order to start a business, you have to start this way. But unfortunately, we started backwards. So for us, it was we had a leave behind the painter mentality and be like, okay, this is how we'll restart in our business.
Yeah.
So I think at that moment, if we're talking about this section about in our business, that's what happened, you
Well, I
know?
think a lot of people do start it that way. And
Yeah.
even if you're talking about, okay, maybe they were a painter, or maybe everyone had been a painter for some time. Maybe they do understand um, a little bit more about the substrates and the process and how to read the paint cans and all that stuff. But overall, there's usually a lot of inefficiencies. There's usually a lot of things you look back and you're like, wait, that's how I used to do it. With
Mhm.
entrepreneurship, business ownership, especially painting, which is something a lot of people sort of fall into. It's usually not the most structured or pretty thing. You kind of start doing it, you start hustling. You're like, oh my goodness, I need money. You start figuring out how to get some money, and you kind of hack the thing together as you go. But at some point, you need to systematize it. You need to professionalize it. Fancy words for you just need to make sure you know what you're doing. It's repeatable, and that the core fundamentals are in place at your business.
I think so. I think so because in our next segment, we're going to talk about what we're doing at this point in our business, creating those systems and stuff. Then now, after you're gonna hire yeah, you're gonna hire a system that is gonna put this into work. And so now you don't have to do it anymore. Now it's done automatically by a system or
Yeah.
by a program, right? But
And
in
that word
order
is
to
interesting
create that,
too.
huh?
Hire. That word that you chose to just use right there is really interesting. Hire a
Why?
system. Well, hire a system, right? Because
Yeah,
that's the way that a lot of people handle it. They hire somebody. They think, oh my gosh, I need to do that. I need to respond to all these. I need to do all these things. I need to hire people. But if you systematize, you number one have to hire fewer people, and you're number two, you actually make those people better at their jobs because you make it a lot easier.
that is very true. And that's where you come in, where you create a solution for us, right? At
Yeah.
that point.
That's where
But
Painter
we
Marketing
have to,
Pros comes in. I'll send you your check, Juan. It's in
there
the
you
mail.
go.
Yeah, nice little plug. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Didn't forget that one.
I'm not
No,
gonna
but
forget it, man.
good. But no, but that was the thing because if we don't take the time at this time in our business to create those, you have to have record of that. You have to whether you put it on a paper, whether however you want to, create that list of the system, you have to create that because you're going to go hire a company or you're going to hire a system, you're going to have to input your information because everything is unique to you. Like there are standards to the industry, but your area or your demographic or your state are going to be a little different than everybody else,
Especially
you know?
California.
Yeah, California.
Florida's gonna be
I know
tough.
Florida is one of those tough ones too.
Florida's
I've
so tough.
heard.
It is so not business friendly in Florida. Brutal, brutal.
God, don't even get me started. I don't know much Florida, but I hear a lot, and I don't think we're much different. But
Yeah,
no,
no,
California is
Florida's
tough,
good.
you
Florida's
know.
good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
California
good.
is tough. No, I was just kidding.
California is
Florida's
tough.
very business friendly.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's why we're going there so much nowadays. Then,
And you find yourself in Orlando quite a bit, man.
right? I mean, we're gonna be there twice this year, so
You said you're
that'd
going
be
to
awesome.
Austin next week. You're starting to gravitate toward these very business
We're
friendly
going east,
states.
baby. We're going east, baby. You know, at the end of the day, I keep saying that. It's funny because I was having this conversation the other day. I'm like, you know what? I should probably move to the East Coast. And and they're asking me why. I'm like, dude, put it in perspective. Like, you get up at 5 in the morning there, and it's what? It's 3 hours different. So you're already 3 hours ahead of everyone. And they're looking at me like, you're dumb. I'm like, I might be dumb, but I'm gonna be ahead of you. I'm just
Is
saying.
that how it works though? Is it
I don't know. That's it.
like maybe we should move across the world and just be like 12 hours
Every a
ahead?
day ahead of you. Maybe, right?
Getting time hacking or time travel.
See, don't get an entrepreneur going into that because you're gonna try to figure out, well, okay, why, how, where, how can I
Yeah.
move that, right? Yeah, that's how my brain works. I blame it on the fumes again. Yeah, there you go.
It's good to be open-minded and creative, man.
Right, yeah, I think creative. I think the minute you stop being creative, you lose a lot, man. It's not just in business. I think in everything you have to be creative. Not a lot of things are exactly provided to you or catered to you. You can grab one thing and from there you have to create your own. I know the majority of people may be like, oh, why fix it? If the wheels are very round. I'm like, yeah, if the wheel's round, I mean, can I make it go faster?
Yeah.
And that's my question, right? So yeah. God, see, you
Figure
got me going
out of a
into
different
some other
material.
stuff.
Yeah, I'm totally derailing you here. I want to derail you slightly more and get you into data,
Oh,
bigger data.
okay.
But what you
Let's
were talking
go.
about, before, you said I kind of threw you off and threw you into a whole path there after our last podcast, which actually happens to me more often than you would think
Oh,
from things
God.
that the guests say. But
Same
let's get
here.
into that.
So data.
Yeah, when I had asked you the question about your population.
Oh, yeah. So, it's funny because you threw me a curveball there, and we have guys like Nick Slavik that God, like that guy, I mean, he's a walking computer, okay?
Dialed in, man.
God, that guy, you tell him something and he will give you the different fraction for everything that you
Yeah.
can think of. And I just sit there, I'm uh, what did you just say? Like, how do you do that? But it's so simple sometimes, it's just creating. So you asked me this question, and in our demographic in our area, I did a little bit of research, and yeah, about a little over 100,000 population, just the area that we cover. And
Sure.
then you asked me, okay, well, how would you build your business to where you want to build it?
And
And
we were, for reference, you had, I think you said 10 million. Is that what we
so
were talking about?
10 million is kind of where we see, and then probably 10 million is, I was looking at, I was like, okay, realistically, eight. I know
Sure.
eight is a very good, comfortable number,
Sure.
but then it became to that point where I'm like, okay, how would that happen? It's not going to happen just by us doing high-end homes, because we're going to cap out a certain amount. So doing a little homework, I feel that the way we can reach as a company those $8 to $10 million is by creating divisions here in our company. So those divisions will basically be our high-end division, which will bring $2 to $3 million, which it'll roughly brings now. I think we can grow it just a little bit more, but let's say $3 million. We can keep doing these new custom homes, and we can create that division. We are creating our cabinet finishing division, which we already have, but we just the first just signed on our lease, so officially moved into our new shop.
Congratulations.
Um, Thank you. So we feel that now we're gonna start. working more into going after our cabinet makers and really bringing more business into that, but we are keeping it as a division of the company. So we're not incorporating everything as a day-to-day to Illusions Painting. So now this is going to be a separate division with someone running the whole division. And so we feel that $2 million we can create there. And $2 million is kind of like a high number, but most of the cabinets that we're gonna do are very high end. So a paint job, a cabinet paint job for a house is gonna range between 150 to $200,000 for one of these homes. And so if we do those, and then we do our small projects, I feel that we can definitely achieve that. Based on our because we want those will bring from not precisely just our little population, but within the 50-mile range, cabinet makers will bring them to our shop.
150,000 to 200,000 for a home.
Yeah,
Juan,
one
I
of the
gotta go,
homes.
man. I'm gonna fly out there. I'm gonna join your company.
That's we just put in a price for a project that it's an average high-end home that we deal with here. So I think cabinets were about 140,000 for the estimate
It's incredible, man. You guys are
just to
very, very
finish.
high end.
Well, I mean, the homes are, your average, that type of home will probably sell for about $20 million. It'll
Ooh,
probably cost you about 10 to build it, a little over 10 to build it. And so all the paint job, everything is going to be higher just
yeah,
because it takes a lot more to build them and everything else. And then I think an average cabinet job will be right around the 20 to $40,000, and just an average repaint home here.
yeah,
The ones that we work on. Then we have the repaint and maintenance uh, part of division of our company that we are really just barely scratching right now. We have really never really paid attention so much to our maintenance situation. All these big homes, they require maintenance, and we will wait until they call us or they will just feel that they need it. So what we're I guess this is we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but that creating that we feel that can bring the $2 million just to maintain these homes and then to do small repaints. But we want to have a whole division that just deals with that, because the problem that you're gonna find with those in our niche of these high-end homes is that some of our guys are not the fastest, but they're very skilled, you know. And when you do repaints, you need someone who's fairly skilled, but it's a little faster.
yeah.
And so that's what we want to, so that's our goal, is to separate those divisions so that we can have that efficiency. We have been doing a lot of the homework and a lot of the groundwork so that we know what is going to take our standards and basically standards, how much does it take for this? How much does it take for that? So on our high end, we really can't use an estimating system because everything's very unique. But on a repaint, we can input that and then we can use that repeatedly
Sure.
over and over again. Then the other part that we do in our business, we do metal patinas. So we manipulate metal and create finishes with metal. In our areas, we're the only company that does that. Within probably close to 100 miles, I would say probably 60 miles. We're the only people to go to for those. And keep in mind, these are high-end finishes. We have a sandblasting unit that's going to be part of that. So it's kind of like a specialty unit. So that will be the division created for that. So that we feel that can generate roughly about $1 million. Um, so creating all those things really get us to those millions, because
Yeah.
I was like, and that has been our strategy. But to that day, I got to sit down. I'm like, okay, how can that work? And looking at the numbers, I feel very confident. I feel that we can definitely do that. So thank you, Brandon. You
Yeah.
really helped me like really sharpen the pencil and be like, next time I talk to
Yeah,
him,
you're going to be
uh,
prepared.
I have to.
Yeah. I
And
think
I'm, huh?
that no, it's so important, man. Like, having the data, right? Data is king, and utilizing it. And it's yes, it did get us a little ahead, for next episode, but that's okay. It's because it's also pertinent to what we're talking about right now. In the sense, if you have a plan, your plan that we talked about was 8 million, 10 million, somewhere in that vicinity. And you just basically applied for that plan, which we'll get into in even more depth, and probably how you did all that the next
Mm-hmm.
episode. But you basically applied it live, what we're talking about right now,
Mm-hmm.
from when you went to the expo and said, okay, wow, I'm going to change this business. Well, then the next step is, what's the plan? What's the action steps that you're going to take? Which you've been walking us through is, okay, let's go back to basically the fundamentals, back to basics.
So, one of the things that we did at that moment when we realized that we were ready to move forward, was to change everything that we do in our office. So, the way we do business, the way now we understood that we needed to invest more. As a painting company, we had one office assistant, and that office assistant did everything. Not completely, but did had her hands on everything. And so something that we were able to change was change that. So now we have an admin, and then we created someone that does all the financial part, and then we did the field work.
So you
So now,
specialized a little bit more.
exactly. So that played a big part at that time, because now you don't have when you have one person running around and doing everything. I mean, you're not very efficient. you
Yeah.
know but when you actually start creating these positions, um it's funny because I had this little exercise done. I believe one of my friends gave me this paper, and what he did is he wrote a paper, and basically the way it is, they put a line down on the bottom. There's admin, there's billing, there's um human resources. It's all these positions, right? And then there's a line, and then the top is the owner. And so I
And then
remember
it's
that
all
time,
circled.
right? Exactly.
It's
So when
all one for so many
so
people.
it was so funny, because I remember the time doing that, and I was like, I looked at it, I'm like, whoa. I'm like, admin, put a name on it. I was like, my initials. Then put human
Yeah.
resources, my initials. Painter, my initials. And all these. I'm like, so dude, you're a slave. You're not an owner. So your
Yeah.
name is everywhere else below that line. And then up on the owner part is dead, silence,
Yeah.
nothing. And that really opened my
You're like
mind.
you're your own figurehead, essentially. Nobody's managing
Right?
shit. Yeah.
Exactly. And so at that point, it really clicked, because I'm like, dude, so what am I doing? They're like, well, you don't own a business, you own a job. I was
Business owns you,
like,
man.
Right. And so that was a very good eye opener. It just seeing that, you're like, okay, again, like you look at it, I'm like, okay. And I remember asking, how can I hire someone for all these positions? And they're like, no, you don't hire someone specific for every position. You hire someone and you delegate what are they good at. So admin and maybe human resources and this will go together. Okay, so now you have one person doing these couple of tasks. And now you have this person overseeing that, and then your painter. And so little by little, I saw myself kind of putting a little step onto the over that line. I put a little step, and then I had to take it down, because I had to go downstairs and go take care of
Progress,
stuff.
not perfection.
Right, exactly. But I guess it really applies, because a lot of us really don't sit there and understand that we have to go through those trial and errors.
Yeah.
Okay. Other thing that I don't think we've done yet, and I think that we should do, and I think at this point is very important for someone that is listening to us, someone who wants to probably like fast pace this step is to hire a coach. Um, we haven't. We've been so blessed that we've met guys like yourself and like Nick and all these guys that we can just ask and we kind of go around the circle. But it's so important to hire. And every time I say hire, most painters are gonna be like, well, yeah, but I don't have the money. Where am I gonna get the money? Yeah, but it's that investment that you are going to need. And there are other ways of doing it as well, but you do need it is so much better when you sit down with a professional and set out a plan. Say, look, this is what I want my business to do. This is where I want my business to go. And they're gonna come and they're gonna look at everything you have and they'll be like, okay, in order to get there, this is and this what you have to do.
Yeah. And
And
it's like the people who said, hey, why are you going to all these events? Why don't you just keep working? And they're like, hey, how'd you get
correct.
me? Right. That's the same mentality. Well, I'm not going to hire a coach. I don't have the money. That doesn't make any sense. Well, it's the same
Mhm.
idea as you taking that time off to go to those events. It's an investment in yourself and your business.
That's correct. And I think that's very important being at that point. So if you conquer that area where the mindset is there and you're like, yes, I can do it, I want to do it, hire someone who can lay out a path or a goal for you because we're not if we're not good at that, we're gonna bump into that wall over and over again. But someone, and there's a lot of people, that can be very affordable. There's things online. There's the PCA with the educational program. There's so many things out there. There's your podcast. There's so many other podcasts that we can invest the time or the money, but you have to do that. You have to put the time and the money into it.
And I'm
And
going to
that's what,
plug one of my good friends here, Chris Moore at Elite Business
oh
Advisors. He's very,
God,
very
dude,
good.
he's such a cool dude, man. Like that's the guy that
Who
you can have a
cares?
really nice conversation. Exactly.
Yeah.
He's not gonna be there about your business and my money and this and that. He's the guy that you're gonna have very genuine
Yeah.
conversations with. So yeah, he's super cool. But I guess at that point in your business, that was like I said, we didn't do that, Pat, but we were blessed, like you said. We were involved, and every time there was an event at that point, we will attend. We would attend, like we'll fly somewhere, we'll go anywhere we need to go. And that was an investment because just flying myself and Jose, they're my business partner, uh, with the hotel and everything else, it was $3,000 to $4,000 anywhere we went. And anyone at that point in their business gonna be like, man, that's a lot of money.
Sure.
It is a lot of money. But looking back at it now, it's like, God, we gained so much experience from it, from the SOPs. I wanted to find out what an SOP. At that time, going to one of Nick's master craftsman classes, it opened up our eyes. Every time we will go to one of these presentations, we'll come back and be like, dude, did you see what Nick had there on his screen? I'm like, yeah, all right, so we're gonna put that in here. And we did.
Yeah.
And so that's how we got past throughout that time. I guess that's really what helped us. So it wasn't just direct coaching, but it was coaching from so many other great ones in the industry.
Yeah. So you've said a couple things that a couple key themes here that I want to just hit on really fast. So you had this epiphany, you recognize that your glass ceiling is not real. You can
Hmm.
go past that. And then the first step was, all right, let's get back to basics. Let's look at our business, find inefficiencies, and find where we're basically don't know what we're doing as much as we probably should. Let's go ahead and address that in a way that makes sense and is systematic, right? So it's not one off. We're not relying on a superhero to teach everybody things. We're just going to
That's
build
correct.
in an automation, in this case,
That's
videos
right.
that we can use. Then we're going to look at the org chart. So that's essentially what you did when you write HR and finance and all these things. It's a rudimentary. It's the beginning of an org chart.
Mm,
Where you basically just heads up departments. You don't have to build out 30 people, not a Fortune
no,
500 company. Just
exactly.
general things. Your name happened to be assigned to a lot of them, which for most of us, that's how we start, and that's okay.
That's right.
And then all right, we're going to create a roadmap here to build out one at a time. We're going to build ourselves out of this until we're only at the top. You continue to invest in the events and education to the point where at your current level, people are going to say, hey, that's a lot. That doesn't really make sense, but you're essentially placing a bet on yourself. You recognize the power of it. And we're all placing a bet on ourselves when we start a business. You're starting a business, you're running a business, you're already betting on yourself. So you should probably continue to do that. It's only logical. You're learning from others. You recognize the importance of learning from people who are ahead of you. And that's part of those events and education is the networking and the learning. And then I would say most importantly of all, of everything that you've said, is you were action oriented in terms of implementation. When you went and learned something, you went back and you implemented it. And that is a big step that a lot of people miss.
Wow, you couldn't have said it better. That is very true.
You make me feel good about myself, Juan. You really pump me up during these things.
God, dude, God, if I can
so
utter
complimentary.
myself, whew, I love it. I love it.
I appreciate you.
Well, just man, look, I believe that interacting sometimes I guess it is our character. Some people are very quiet and they do their work very, very quiet, very low key. I believe that my character is a little different. I am more interactive. I love to interact with people. I would learn more out of a chat, like an hour chat from someone, than reading for an hour or two. That's just how my brain works. And so I know that there's different types of people out there. There's millions and millions of people that we can touch, especially now with social media. So touch the ones that relate to you, you know? Um,
And that's
be
a great
yourself.
point. There might be someone really smart out there, and it just their style, their communication, like the fact you're listening to this means that you don't hate my communication, right? And it's probably helping you, so that's great. If you were like, man, this Brandon guy's so annoying, then go listen to other people, right? Because you don't have to follow. There are a lot of people, and there are a lot of learning styles and communication styles, and you can find the one or hopefully multiple that fit for you.
Exactly. And so at that point in our business, we struggle with ourselves more than other people. Okay.
Yeah.
I think at that point and when we were creating the systems, it was more like, okay, but what if he doesn't do it? What if that person doesn't? Honestly, you gotta build something. You build something and the results are gonna be what you want them to be. You're looking for some results. What's gonna happen is there's gonna be guys or there's gonna be, members in the team that are gonna come in and out. Why? Because they're not gonna fit in your culture, in your business. But you can't create something for everyone. You gotta create who
Yeah.
you are. You create the business. At the end of the day, we are the business. That business runs on how we feel that it should run. Yes,
Top
you
down.
implement.
It's top down, like your personality, your ownership style, your value system,
Exactly.
your vision, that's going to permeate the entire culture of that company.
Yeah, there's a lot of us that in our meetings, I want people to laugh. I want people to have an opinion.
This
We
is
just had
business,
our
Juan. We're not supposed to laugh. This is business, man.
God. If it's business, I wouldn't be in business if it was that serious. Well,
You
I
got to
wouldn't be
have
in
fun
that
with
kind
it.
of business. You gotta
Yeah.
have fun. So we spend more time with our business colleagues than we do at home sometimes. Well,
Yeah.
you inspire, your wife, but a lot of us, we leave first thing in the morning and don't come back home until 5, 6 p.m.
Yeah.
So most of our um, most of our life revolves around what we do. So if you're at work and you are someone who's very funny and very outgoing, and you work at a place that is just so strict and so straight, you're not going to be happy. You're going to do your job, but it's going to be a job.
Yeah.
But when you find that very happy medium where, like, you look for certain things, but at the end of the day, you can be yourself, it's not going to be work. And in our business, we have um on Monday, this last Monday, we had our monthly meeting. And when I get in front of them, when we have Isabel as our office manager, and when she's in front, she's like straight, like this is the agenda, this is what we're doing, and that. And then they put
It's a
me.
good fit for an office manager. She's got to
Oh,
keep the train on the
awesome.
tracks.
Oh, of course.
Wow.
Of course,
You're goofing
she
around,
is.
man. She needs to make sure that everything's in line.
As soon as she's done, I'm like, all right, guys, give me the mic. Here we
Yeah.
go.
Oh,
But we make that point across. And I guess it's that dynamic that you have to understand. So it's not that we're derating, but it's okay, you're creating the systems, but you're also creating a culture in your business, and that's super important. You want to attract people, and the way we did it at that time, it was we started creating a face for the company. We started creating a brand. We started branding. So everywhere you start going, like our name started popping out more, and illusions. And the next thing you know, there's guys that I'm like, hey, I want to work for you. Why? Because, it's just because it's a good company. Like I keep hearing great things
there's no
about it.
good guys out there, though. That's the problem.
Ah,
There's no good guys out there. You know that.
dang it. Yeah, so I guess I got like all the 10 of them that were
You got
around
all
here.
10 of them,
I got
man.
them all. I got them all, man. It's
Yeah.
okay. I'm that good.
So it turns out
No,
if you create a company that people want to work at, sometimes I guess good guys appear. Good
well,
people.
you're gonna you know how Nick has this good human being,
Yeah, these human being model.
decent human being
Yeah.
model. Um, and we go back to the same analogy, right? There'll be another company where like, nope, I want you here, you come to work, you come to this, and that's that. Believe it or not, there are guys that love that. There are guys who just don't want to be talked to. They don't want to socialize with you. They're just going to come, do their business, get out.
It's very clear.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's completely fine. I don't think those guys fit in our company. As much as I love them, you gotta be able to laugh and you gotta be able to joke around. Because if you don't, I don't know, man. I'm gonna look at you weird when I'm laughing at everyone and everybody
Yeah.
else is laughing and you just sitting in the corner like, what?
Yeah.
Like old graunchy grandpa there on the back. No.
Did
So
you proactively do this? Did you proactively shape the culture, or is it something that just happened from your personality?
I think it just happens from our personality. You can't I mean you can set that up, but for us it's like I think the we we actually set that culture to be a little more strict and more disciplined. Because if it was up to me, it would be a joke every day. But but no. And that's why, I think that at that point, but it just starts creating. So in that time when we're talking about this probably 2 years ago or so, I don't think we have, no, we don't have. We might have one guy left from that era.
Oh wow.
Um, and it was because we had a lot of VIPs, you know that phrase, right?
Yep.
But the VIPs that they know what to do and they're gonna do what they're gonna do and stuff. And it took a while for them to understand that we're a team. If we go left, we're all going left. If we're going right, we're all going right. And so it took some time to understand that some people may not fit in your company.
And companies
And
evolve because those people, those strong-willed, they'd be high on the disc, high dominant,
Mhm.
right? And they're confident typically. Those people are sometimes a very valuable asset to a small company because you need, leaders, you need killers in those positions
That's
because it's
right.
not well structured. But as you grow and as you systematize, the team-oriented approach becomes much more important, and those people don't always make that adaptation.
That's right. And see, and I guess when I one of the reasons why I like to be like that with the guys and everything that I do is because I like to make it so it's not so difficult. It is a lot of work. Don't get me wrong. I'm sitting here, I'm just telling you, we laughed and that. We do that. But let me tell you, when it comes down to getting results done, getting the data, getting all those, we took a lot of time to actually, what we did is we went to our shop and we will have a couple guys paint a door. And I'm like, okay, how long does it take us to paint a door? Okay, it takes us this much. They're like, okay, perfect. So now when we implement these things, it's not us, it's you guys. You guys painted that door. So
Yeah.
on average, this is what it took. So we took those and those became our program, our system. So now, of course, they change with, with different products, with, different person, but we do have an average, a standard, and that standard needs to be followed. And so that's what we created. So at that point, not going out of the subject, it was operational systems, it was training, it was implementing the right person or putting the right person in the right place at the company. And that really allowed us to grow. I think at that point is when we had the most growth out of everything that we've had so far.
Huh.
And it was just switching a couple little things that were not functioning, or just doing it the right way. I mean the right way of a business.
Yeah.
I don't know how to put it in better words, but that's what we did at that time.
So for people who are listening to this, who are in that maybe first transition that you were in,
Yeah.
that transitory phase that they've been grinding day to day, kind of hand to mouth, and they say, you know what, I'm serious about this. I know I can do it. I'm going to build out all the different things that you've talked about. Can we quickly, and again, it might change, right? It
Mm-hmm.
might not be the same, but let's give a prescription of sorts. Let's give a roadmap of sorts, a brief one. They're listening. They are where you were.
Mm-hmm.
Let's like 4 or 5 things, just bullets. What should they do first? What should they do second? And again, let's keep it high level, but what's the roadmap look like for them?
I think first of all is identifying what type of business you're building.
Okay.
I think that's very important. What are your business gonna look like? Okay. Second, systems. What type of systems do you need to implement to get it to where that business needs to go? The second one is, what type of training do you need? What type of training do you need to receive yourself? And what type of training do you need to give your employees or your staff contractors, depending on your system of the business? Then the other one would be, um, I guess is so we say training systems, set up a road plan of your business. Other than that, is you gotta implement it. That's very important, because you can think of a lot and you can sit there and think, but implement it
Yeah.
and start in one place and just go. You know, many times we're gonna find out that in our business, we many times we've done is we have a vision and we start working towards that. In the middle of it, we're like, you know what? It's not working. Don't be afraid to scratch it. Scrape it. If it's not working for you, scrape it
Yeah.
and switch gears. The business is gonna dictate where it wants to go if
I
you
love it.
put the right systems. And I think and then the next one will be your data. Document everything that you do.
Yeah. So start with the end in mind. So identify, take a hard, take a weekend, sit down,
Yeah,
talk with your spouse if they're involved. They envision it, right? It's like a mental exercise. Might be a little bit kumbaya, but where do you want to go? What's the
yeah.
goal here? Because that's how you can actually figure out how to get there. The next step, okay, based on where you need to go, what does that company look like? What systems are in place? Let's go ahead and build those. Let's train the team on the systems
Mm-hmm.
that actually need to be implemented. Let's map out a detailed roadmap, as detailed as we can, the 3 to 5 year plan. They're going to be guesses in the beginning.
Yeah.
That's okay. The
Oh
actual
yeah.
revenue figure is not as important as just the steps to get there is really what's more important. And being biased toward action, but also not being unrealistic, because then you're going to get defeated really quickly and you're going to feel like you're
Yeah,
wasting time.
that's right.
Implement, bias toward action, always number one thing. And then data, document all this stuff. And if you fail, if you go a certain direction, it's just a total bomb, or you don't like it, or for whatever reason, that's not failing. It's part of it. If you're not doing that, then you're being boring and you're not pushing your business and you're not pushing yourself. That is a part of it. You learn more from failure than success. So that is a part of the journey, and failing is actually succeeding.
Well, you learn more. You do. I'll tell you, and everyone in business will tell you that you definitely learn more from your failures than you do from
Yeah.
when you succeed. Because
And
when you
make it your
succeed,
own. Like, it
yes,
doesn't have to look exactly like Illusions painting. It doesn't have to look exactly like Nick Slavic painting a restoration. Doesn't have to look like Paris paint. Doesn't have to look like any of
Yeah.
these things. You start it as a template, like, okay, let me start down this path, and then you're going to make it your own. You're going to make it what makes sense for you.
You know what? I think that's very important that you touch that subject because that at least in myself, I used to have a lot of trouble with that
Yeah.
because sometimes it's so much easier to look at someone else that's doing something and you're like, oh my God, why can I not do that? It's just we're different people, you know?
You can do something
Different.
that they don't do, that they're not
It,
doing.
that's correct. Exactly correct. So that is very big, just don't focus on what you're doing and follow through. I think, but follow through, keep going, educate yourself at that part of the business, at that space. That's all you need to do. You're gonna fall off a couple times. The way we invested at that time was going to all these seminars, going to the PCA. There was a special training. We will go to those, and those were our investment for us. Then coming back and training, transparent, every time we come back and we learn something, we will transfer and show that to our team. This is what we've learned and this is what we're doing. And they're like, oh, okay, keep them involved, keep
That
them
is
engaged.
important. Yeah, that is important.
Yes,
You have to bring the team with you. That's
yes.
another thing, mistake people make. They go and they will invest in these conferences. They'll come back and the team's kind of bracing themselves. It's like, all right, let's do this, this, this. If you don't tell them why, if you don't educate them, if you don't bring them, if you don't lift them up, you're going to get people who are resistant to the change. You're going to get people who aren't chipping in, and ultimately they don't know where you're going. You're not being a good leader.
Uh, Thank you. This is a little joke because I can't be so serious. One of the
You've
things
been
our
too
guys
serious for
are,
too long. Time to input a
a
joke.
little, our guys, the joke, the inside joke in our company was like, okay, where are the bosses at? Where's Jose and Juan? Oh, they're on their honeymoon. So we
Oh,
were
that's
always
funny.
on a honeymoon,
Yeah,
so-
they'll be on honeymoons all the time. Is Jose
But
there? He handed you something,
uh,
right?
yeah, he did. Joe, are you down there? Oh, there he is.
This guy
He's down
is this guy
there.
ever gonna hop on and say hi?
Yeah,
What's
he's
going
gonna
on
hug
here?
it. The
Just
next
hanging out
one
in the
would definitely
background?
gotta hop in there.
Yeah,
He just got back. Interesting enough, he just we did a presentation for Sharon Williams. It was last year in Kennewick, Washington State. And so we've been having a couple issues going on in the company right now because those are never gonna end.
yeah.
So sorry guys to disappoint you, but there's always gonna
House
be
from the
an
sky,
issue.
perfect. It's perfect.
Right? Exactly. And so he actually took a drive. Well, he flew down there, and then he met up with one of the guys that we met in a presentation. And we've been having issues with the CRM, implementing CRMs. He comes back. It's not that we got it fixed, but just a couple hours sitting down with this guy, I feel that we have our problem solved. Do you see how important that is? Those connections? For us to be able to just, get on the phone, talk to someone and say, you know what, this is what I need. They're like, oh, dude, that's easy. Give it to you, it's done.
And this
So he
network
just
at the
got,
PCA, this is abnormal. It's a super high quality network. It is not a particularly big. I mean, it's just this amazing, accessible little world where you can access some of the brightest minds and most successful minds in painting. I mean, goodness, take advantage of that. People want to help.
we'll be flying to Austin and we already talked to a couple of the guys like Jesse, like a couple of the guys that we've met through PC8 and now yeah, we're gonna have a presentation for Sherwin. That's something I want to touch on really quick. But now we have an extra day, so we rented an Airbnb, and so now we're gonna invite everyone and just kind of sit down. These are the guys that we see almost every year throughout the years, and now we want to sit down at their home, maybe just pull out a little chart and talk about how their business doing and stuff, and then just hang out.
That's so cool.
We're gonna learn so much in a couple hours and have a human interaction, which honestly it's amazing. It's amazing that you can do that, learn and still give back at the same time. I feel that I can touch the ceiling, you know?
Yeah.
And it's something that if you would have asked me, like we talked about this a few years back, I wouldn't be feeling. So let me touch on something very quick here. Talking about networking at that time, this was last year, and it's kind of like part of how we got here where we are now, is we got approached by the PCA and see if we wanted to do some kind of speaking, speaking engagements and stuff. And I said, yeah, no problem. We had no idea what we're getting ourselves into, right? So we agreed to one or two events. We ended up doing 12 across the country, and we found out a lot. We found out that our business was not going to be able to sustain us being away. So we need to implement certain things. So we implemented, and we hire a project manager, and then we hired more people. And so now that necessity gave us that. It gave us a very good push for our business, but not only that, now that gave us the push to do more. So, okay, now what can I do? What else can I do? So now I'm getting in traveling the country, which is awesome. We're sharing our experience, and in a way, we're learning so much from everyone that we meet and creating great relationships that hopefully in the future are going to help our business a lot more. So that's the power of networking. So networking should be on that list that you put there, because it's big.
Yeah.
Big.
Juan, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate this episode. Thank you. Is there anything else that you want to add as we wrap up number 3 here?
No, man, just understand that, basically we put in the work, stay on it, stay consistent, and you will see that something's going to come out of it. But you got to stay consistent and work on it.
Day in, day out, brother. Thank you, man. Appreciate you. We'll see you for number 4.
Yes, sir.
If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.